The man who attempted to assassinate Trump at his golf course is found guilty. Jimmy Kimmel's back on air, but not everywhere. And French President Macron has to call for Trump's help in New York. I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Tuesday, September 23rd. This is Evening Wire.
The man who attempted to assassinate President Trump at Trump International Golf Course has been found guilty. A Florida jury gave the verdict on 59-year-old Ryan Routh this afternoon. Routh served as his own attorney during the 2-week trial, despite not being a lawyer. He was convicted of attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, among other charges, and could face up to life in prison. Following the verdict, Routh reportedly attempted to take his own life in the courtroom by stabbing himself in the neck with a pen, but was unsuccessful. He was taken to the ground and removed in handcuffs. Members of the Trump administration commented on the conviction, with FBI Director Kash Patel saying, quote, "We are grateful to see a quick resolution. The FBI will continue working aggressively to take violent offenders off American streets and protect public officials from threats of all nature."
During his remarks before the UN, President Trump accused Europe of funding the war against themselves. Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips has the details.
During a scathing address before the UN, President Trump scolded NATO allies for buying Russian oil and gas.
Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that.
While a number of European nations have cut much of their reliance on Moscow since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, many European countries still import large volumes of Russian energy. Trump noted France in particular remains tied to long-term contracts for liquefied natural gas. The president warned that if Vladimir Putin refuses to strike a peace deal, Washington is prepared to impose sweeping new tariffs on Russian energy, but only if Europe adopts the same measures. Trump went on to say that the U.S. can afford to wait behind an ocean, but Europe, he argued, cannot.
President Trump canceled a meeting with top Democrats today. He was set to meet with Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries ahead of a looming budget deadline. But according to Trump, their demands ahead of the meeting were unserious and ridiculous. They included, quote, $1 trillion in new spending on items such as free health care for illegal aliens and transgender surgery for minors. The president said he would reconsider once Democrats got serious about the future of our nation. The budget deadline will hit on September 30th.
Jimmy Kimmel Live may be back on tonight, but for now it won't be playing everywhere. Both Sinclair and Nexstar say they still won't be running the program on their dozens of ABC affiliate channels across the country. Daily Wire reporter Amanda Presa-Giacomo has more.
Sinclair Broadcast Group and Nexstar have both doubled down on refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel Live. This comes despite Disney announcing his show will be back on air. Sinclair said last week that it would not run Kimmel's show until after he apologized for vilifying conservatives in his comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. After Disney announced yesterday that they were reinstating Kimmel following, quote, thoughtful conversations with him, Sinclair released its own statement. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming, the statement said. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. Nexstar released a similar statement today, saying they will stand by their decision to not run his show, quote, pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell hinted that the Fed may be slow to adjust interest rates further following the quarter-point rate cut last week. Policymakers at the Fed have clashed on the best way to foster low inflation and low unemployment. Here's Powell this morning.
Near-term risks to inflation are tilted to the upside, and risks to employment are tilted to the downside, a challenging situation. Two-sided risks mean that there is no risk-free path. This policy stance, which I personally see as still modestly restrictive, leaves us well-positioned to respond to potential economic developments. Our policy is not on a preset course. We will continue to determine the appropriate stance based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks.
Newly obtained emails reviewed by the Daily Wire show that Biden's FBI worked with a radical pro-abortion group to target pro-lifers. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler reports.
Former President Joe Biden's DOJ and FBI partnered with the National Abortion Federation, that's the professional association for abortionists, for multiple investigations into pro-life protests. The administration and the abortion group developed, quote, an amazing relationship. That's according to emails shared with the Daily Wire by the watchdog group Functional Government Initiative. In a January 2023 email to the DOJ, National Abortion Federation Security Manager Robert Ladogar said that both the DOJ and the FBI had partnered with his group on multiple FACE Act cases. Ladogar wrote, quote, "Over the past 2 years that I've been with NAF Security, I have witnessed an amazing relationship with the NAF Security Director Michelle Davidson and members of the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Biden's crackdown on peaceful pro-life protests landed elderly grandparents, devout Christians, and other pro-life activists in federal prison."
Former Vice President Kamala Harris expressed regret for not voicing her concerns about President Biden's running for re-election. Harris commented on the campaign as part of a media tour to promote her new book, 107 Days, which reportedly details her 2024 run following Biden's withdrawal. Here's Harris on Good Morning America today.
You know, and I talk about it in the context of asking a question of myself, was that grace to not bring it up to him, or was it reckless? And on my part, I do reflect on that and feel that there was a recklessness about not raising it with him.
President Trump's push to make drug makers offer fairer prices to Americans appears to be paying off. A pharma giant now says that Brits must pay the same price as Americans for a new drug. Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce has the details.
Drug maker Bristol Myers Squibb is set to release a new schizophrenia treatment in the UK for the same price it's listed for in the US. The announcement Monday follows a push from President Trump for U.S. drug makers to lower prescription drug costs for Americans to the greatest extent possible. Bristol has never before brought its price for a drug to parity across the U.S. and the U.K. Bristol CCO Adam Lenkowski said that the drug company is prepared to pull its drug, Cobenfy, from the U.K. market if authorities do not agree to the price listed in the U.S., $1,850 a month. Lenkowski said, quote, "We agree with the Trump administration that other countries need to pay their fair share."
A delegation of U.S. House members traveled to China this week for the first time in 6 years. U.S. lawmakers met with top Chinese officials, including Premier Li Cheng, the number 2 leader in the Chinese government. The meeting was an attempt to build trust between Washington and Beijing as the two great powers tussled diplomatically over the future of Taiwan. In recent years, China has grown more belligerent in its claims, with military shows of force alongside Russia and North Korea. Lawmakers on both sides of the Pacific have tried to cool tensions ahead of an expected summit between President Trump and China's Xi Jinping. The meeting could come as soon as next month. Mysterious drone flights forced Denmark and Norway to shut down their main airports on Monday night. Copenhagen's international airport shut down around 8:30 p.m. local time, and the airport in Oslo followed suit around midnight. The shutdowns lasted for about 4 hours each and resulted in hundreds of canceled flights. Neither country's authorities know where the drones came from, but Russia is a suspect after it repeatedly violated NATO airspace in recent months. Moscow has denied all responsibility for the unknown drones.
A school in Virginia may have illegally pushed minor students to have abortions. That's what U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana is warning in a letter obtained by the Daily Wire. White House correspondent Mary Margaret Olahan reports.
Fairfax County Public Schools has been accused of pushing minor Hispanic students to abort their unborn babies, and Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy says that they may have violated federal law. In a letter exclusively obtained by the Daily Wire, the senator calls on the district to explain whether it paid for the abortion of a young girl's baby without her parents' knowledge or consent, and he warns the district that, quote, "A school official pressuring minor students to obtain covert abortions using school funding is illegal, and, if proven, requires concrete action by the school board to hold the perpetrators accountable." The district did not immediately respond to our request for comment, though in August, Superintendent Michelle Reed claimed the district had only just learned about the allegations that week, and she said that such behavior would never have been tolerated.
Iranian diplomats visiting the UN General Assembly will likely be a bit more disappointed on this trip, and not because they have to stay within 25 miles of Manhattan. The Trump administration has barred diplomats from the country from shopping at big box outlets like Costco or Sam's Club. In a Federal Register notice, the administration also said Iranian officials will need special State Department permission to buy luxury goods while in the U.S. A State Department spokesman said Iranian elites won't be able to, quote, have a shopping spree in the United States while their people suffer poverty and shortages at home. The Iranian mission to the UN had no comment.
And how do you say "let me through" in French? Video shows French President Macron pleading with an NYPD officer to let his motorcade pass, only to be told the city was locked down for President Trump's convoy. Macron then laughed and phoned his friend.
How are you? Guess what? I'm waiting the street because everything is closed for you.
With no luck, Macron hoofed it, walking a half an hour through Manhattan, smiling for selfies with surprised New Yorkers.
Those are your drive home updates this evening. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it this morning, we covered some major stories, including Trump shaking things up before his big UN address, the release of major autism findings related to Tylenol and a potential treatment, and Trump moving to stop companies from, quote, shipping in cheap foreign labor. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.